All right, so you're really serious about making good coffee at home, huh? You sent a bunch of articles over, and they were all interesting, but one really kind of jumped out.
Oh, yeah.
It was all about how water, just plain old water, can really make or break your coffee.
Interesting.
I mean, we all know about temperature, right?
Right.
But the type of water, that was a new one for me.
Yeah. It's one of those things you don't think about, but it
Yeah.
makes a huge difference.
Yeah, this article claims that the wrong water can make your coffee taste flat or bitter.
Ah.
Even worse, it can wreck your machine.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It all
Yeah.
comes down to the mineral content.
Okay.
Brewing coffee, it's not
Yeah.
just adding hot water to the grounds.
Right.
It's like there's a delicate kind of dance between the water and all those compounds in the coffee beans.
Okay, so let's break that down a little bit.
Sure.
We've all heard of hard water and soft water.
Right.
What's the deal? How does that affect the coffee?
Think of it this way. Hard water, with all that calcium and magnesium, it's kind of like that overenthusiastic friend at a party,
Okay.
grabs onto everything, pulls out too much from those beans. That's
Oh,
where that bitter taste can come from.
too much of a good thing.
Exactly.
So soft water, then, that must be the answer, right?
Not so fast.
Okay.
Soft water's like the wallflower at the party. It's just not engaging enough. It's not going to
Oh,
pull out those good flavors, the aromas.
right.
You just end up with kind of a weak, almost sour cup.
So it's like Goldilocks, right?
Yeah.
Gotta find that just right balance.
Exactly. Not too hard, not too soft.
Okay.
And what's interesting is that this article goes even deeper.
Okay.
They talk about how the wrong mineral balance can impact your coffee machine.
Okay, this is where it gets a little scary for me.
Yeah.
What is this scale buildup? How does that even happen?
Well, think about those minerals in hard water, like tiny little building blocks.
Mm.
And as that water heats up inside your machine, they start sticking together. They form this hard, chalky deposit. And that's the scale.
So it builds up inside the pipes, I imagine.
Yeah, inside the pipes on the heating element.
So what? What's the big deal? A little scale? It can't be that bad, can it?
Well, it's kind of like slowly clogging your arteries.
Oh, okay.
Over time, that scale buildup restricts the water flow. Your machine's working harder. It's less efficient.
Mm-hmm.
It can even burn out the heating element completely.
Wow. Suddenly using good water sounds like a really good investment.
Yeah, think of it this way. You spend good money on a good coffee machine, right?
Right.
Using the right water is like preventative health care for your machine.
And I like that.
Keep it running smoothly, make it last longer,
Mm.
save money on repairs, or even having to replace the whole thing down the line.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so we know we need good water.
Mm-hmm.
How do we
Huh.
get it? Okay, so we know we need good water.
Mm-hmm.
How do we get, how do we even know what kind of water we're dealing with?
That's where this article gets really practical, right?
Yeah.
They give us like a 3-step plan.
Okay.
Knowing your water, filtration, and then for like the really serious coffee folks,
Right.
pro-level solutions.
Okay.
So the first step, knowing your water.
Yeah. How do we know what kind of water we have?
Well, they say there's kind of a two-pronged approach, right?
Okay.
Get your water tested
Right.
for hardness.
I see.
You can get like home test kits, or you can even check with your local water supplier. They usually have reports,
Oh, okay.
and that gives you a baseline.
Makes sense.
And then the second part of that is just thinking about like,
Right.
where does your water come from?
Yeah.
Are you on city water, well water, something else?
Right.
I mean, each source has its own kind of characteristics.
Okay, so once we know what we're working with, then what?
Well, then it's filtrations.
Right?
There's so many options out there.
Yeah, I imagine.
You got everything from a basic carbon filter, which will remove chlorine, improve the taste,
Yeah.
to, some more advanced systems like reverse osmosis.
Yeah.
That strips out almost everything.
Wow, so choosing a filter.
Yeah.
That's a whole other deep dive.
Yeah, it can be.
Right.
But the article gives you some good guidance there.
Okay.
And actually, they even talk about filters that are specifically designed for coffee.
Coffee-specific filters.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
That's pretty intense.
It is. It is.
That's some real coffee geek stuff.
It shows you how much thought people put into this, right?
Yeah.
I mean, these filters target specific minerals that can really affect the flavor in a bad way.
Interesting.
But they let other minerals pass through that actually enhance the brewing process.
So for those people who really want to go all the way,
Yeah.
what are these pro-level solutions the article's talking about?
We're talking dedicated waterline filters.
Wow.
Like connect right to your machine.
Oh, okay.
Or even like these calibrated water treatment systems.
Really?
Yeah, where you can fine-tune the mineral content of your water.
Wow.
to match your specific beans, your brewing method.
I'm starting to see why people call this an art form.
It really is.
Right.
It's really fascinating.
Okay, so maybe we're not ready for like a full-on lab in our kitchen.
Right.
But there are some, simpler things that we can do.
Yeah.
Like maintenance.
Yeah.
Cleaning our machines.
Regular cleaning is key.
One of the things that really surprised me in this article was it said to avoid hot tap water.
Right.
Why is that? I mean, you would think hot water's ready to go.
Seems counterintuitive, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But hot water that's been sitting in your pipes, it's actually more likely to pick up those dissolved minerals.
Oh.
Makes it even harder than cold water.
So using hot water is actually making the scale problem worse.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Just one of those little things, but in the long run, makes a big difference.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so what else should we be looking out for?
Well, the article also has some red flags.
Right.
To kind of tip you off that you might have a water problem.
Okay, lay them on me.
Well, first and foremost, unusual taste or odor.
Right.
In your coffee. If it tastes metallic or just off,
right,
your water could be the culprit.
Okay.
Keep an eye out for any white residue
Okay.
on the surfaces or inside your machine.
I see.
That's a sign of scale.
Makes sense.
And if your machine is taking longer to brew, or the water flow seems inconsistent, that's another warning sign.
Okay.
That scale's starting to clog things up.
Right.
And then finally, just listen for any weird noises when it's brewing.
Okay.
Gurgling, sputtering, rattling. Could be your machine struggling because of scale buildup.
So if we're having any of these, like, coffee mysteries, this deep dive has given us the clues to solve them.
Hopefully, yeah. But, the article didn't just talk about, like, the practical stuff.
Right.
It went into the comments section.
It did.
Which is where things got really interesting.
Yeah. That's where people really started sharing their personal kind of philosophies about coffee.
Yeah, I mean, about life in general.
Exactly, yeah.
We had Brandon, who was kind of concerned about, the bigger picture.
Oh, right.
Focusing on the perfect cup of coffee when there's so much, suffering going on in the world.
Right.
He brought up, the situation in Syria.
Yeah, a valid point.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in our little coffee world.
Right.
But then we had Ezra chimed in and had this really interesting counterpoint.
Oh, yeah.
They were saying that, even amidst all the chaos and suffering, it's still important to find joy in the little things.
Absolutely.
A perfectly brewed cup of coffee.
Right.
It's about those moments of peace.
Connection.
In everyday life.
Yeah, for sure.
Ezra even went so far as to say that perfecting our coffee ritual is a form of activism.
Wow, activism.
Right. By consciously creating beauty and connection in our routines.
Right.
We're affirming the importance of those things in a world that often feels very chaotic and disconnected.
That's a really interesting way to look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we had Alexandra, who just added another layer to this whole conversation.
Oh, interesting.
She loved this idea of finding joy in the little things and was wondering if that applies to, other areas of life.
Right, yeah.
Which I thought was a beautiful thought.
It is, yeah.
Right? If we just intentionally sought out these micro moments of joy throughout the day, we could cultivate a greater sense of well-being, gratitude.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. And so she challenged everyone to try to seek these moments out.
Okay.
Even when things are, really tough, make it a point to create that little coffee ritual, that moment of mindfulness.
Yeah, I like that.
Right. Even when things are hard.
It's a good reminder that we have the power to choose how we experience the world.
Yeah.
Right.
Even in the face of, whatever's going on around us.
Absolutely.
And then, Sophia brought us back down to earth with a really practical question.
Yeah.
What about contaminants?
Oh, right.
Like lead in the water.
That's a big concern.
Huge. Yeah, especially for, those of us with older water systems.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so she wondered, is using filtered water always the best choice?
Yeah.
Even if it means investing in a more, pricey system.
Right.
It's kind of this trade-off between taste and safety, right?
It is, yeah.
It's a good reminder that, the perfect cup of coffee shouldn't come at the expense of our health.
Absolutely, right.
So we covered a lot of ground here.
We did.
We went from, the chemistry of how coffee is extracted to the philosophy of finding joy in the everyday.
It's amazing how coffee water can lead to such a rich conversation.
Right.
Yeah.
So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive, what resonates most with you?
Wow.
Out of all the information, all the perspectives.
That's a good question.
I mean, maybe you're fascinated by the science, right? Like how those minerals really affect the flavor. Or maybe you're going to go out and try some of those coffee-specific filters.
Right.
Or maybe you're like Sophia and you're thinking about water quality and safety.
Yeah, it's really about, connecting all these insights to your own personal, coffee journey,
Yeah, and that kind of brings us to the final thought we want to leave everyone with.
Okay.
So now that you know, right, you've got all this new awareness of how important water is. How might that change how you order coffee when you're out?
Yeah, are you going to be more curious about, the water they use at your favorite cafe?
Right.
Maybe you'll even, talk to the barista about their filtration system.
I mean, this is like a whole new world, right?
It is.
You might even start, choosing bottled water,
Right.
if you think it's going to make a difference in the taste.
Yeah, or maybe you'll just, savor each sip with a deeper appreciation for all those elements that went into that cup.
Yeah.
Even the water.
Right. It's pretty amazing how something we just take for granted can have such a huge impact on something we enjoy every single day.
It is. It's a good reminder that even the simplest things have these hidden depths.
Yeah.
And that learning about them, even if it seems mundane, like coffee water, it can really enrich your life in ways you didn't expect.
So keep exploring, keep experimenting, and keep enjoying that delicious cup of coffee.
Absolutely.
Happy brewing, everyone.